Accessible design drives better usability. Did you know that in the US alone, 61 million adults live with a disability? If we didn't account for these people when designing, we'd miss out on a good portion of individuals who might end up using our designs. So, how do you design something that is beautiful yet accessible? There are lots of different ways to do this, but today we're going to focus on three things that vastly improve accessibility. 1, color contrast. 2, providing visual cues in addition to color. And 3, focus states. First up, make sure you design for color contrast. A higher contrast ratio between text and its background helps users with a low vision to read without assistive technology. In other words, people with vision impairments can have trouble reading text on low contrast backgrounds. Now, the contrast ratio for smaller text that is smaller than 14 point regular, should be at least 4.5 to 1. And the text that is at least 18 point or 14 point bolded, the ratio is 3 to 1. Let's look at an example. We've designed these cards for an nngroup.com prototype. We've pulled out the background color as well as the text color and size. If we plug this into a color contrast tool, here we're using accessiblecolors.com, it will tell us if our text size, color, and background color are compliant with the contrast ratio. Let's move on to number 2, which is providing visual cues in addition to color. This could be strokes, patterns, icons, text, etc. Just something that helps people who have color blindness or low visual acuity to distinguish between the colors they are looking at. In this example, we have a login screen with an error. Right now, this design is not accessible because it only uses the red error color to signify the error. We need to add in something else like an icon, some text, to make it distinguishable for someone who has color blindness. And finally, let's discuss number 3, which is to identify the focus state. For our users that use the keyboard to navigate, this is rather important. Focus indicators, which is by default that blue outline around an element you see when using the keyboard, helps people to know which active element has the keyboard focus. Focus states are easily customizable to fit your visual design needs, so make it work for you. I recommend using a visually obvious stroke to clearly identify a focus state. Users expect this since a stroke is the default, and we've talked about before, a color change alone is not enough to distinguish between different states. In this example, we see that the focus state is distinguished not only by color, but also an obvious stroke. There you have it, 3 visual treatments that will improve the accessibility of your designs while keeping them visually nice.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our UX videos, take a look at these over here and consider subscribing to our channel. On our website, nngroup.com, you can access our free library of over 2,000 articles. You can also register for one of our UX courses that offer live, hands-on UX training.